The year is 69 BCE. Alexandria, Egypt's glittering capital, hums with life. Ships crowd the harbor, their sails catching the Mediterranean breeze. The Pharos lighthouse towers over the horizon, its flame guiding merchants from across the known world. In the royal palace, a girl is born, Cleopatra VII Philopator. She's not just a princess. She's a Ptolemy, descended from Alexander the Great's general Ptolemy I. Her bloodline is divine, her family gods on earth. But divinity comes with a price. By age 14, she's co-ruler with her father, Ptolemy XII, a drunkard king mocked as the flute player by his own people. Alexandria is wealthy, but Egypt is rotting. Taxes bleed the Nile dry to pay Roman bribes, and the palace is a nest of vipers. Siblings plot against siblings. Incest is tradition. Murder is policy. Cleopatra learns early. Power isn't inherited. It's seized. At 18, in 51 BCE, her father dies. She ascends as queen, forced to marry her 10-year-old brother, Ptolemy XIII, as custom demands. The court whispers. She's too clever, too ambitious. Her brother's advisors, eunuchs and generals, want her gone. She studies languages, 9, including Egyptian, a first for a Ptolemy, astronomy, rhetoric, poisons. She's not just beautiful. Dark eyes, sharp nose, charisma that makes men forget their words. She's brilliant. But brilliance in a woman scares men, especially in Alexandria, where Greek kings rule and Egyptian people restless for freedom. Rome looms across the sea, a republic turned predator, gobbling client kingdoms like Egypt. Cleopatra knows her throne is a house of papyrus in a storm. The city pulses with excess. Banquets in the palace stretch from dusk to dawn. Golden cups overflow with wine. Dancers in sheer linens move like smoke. Nobles indulge in pleasures Rome would call depraved. Orgies where rank dissolves, where Greek, Egyptian, and Nubian bodies tangle in torchlit halls. Cleopatra hosts these, not as a participant, yet, but as a strategist. Every guest is a pawn, every favor a debt. She learns who lusts, who betrays, who can be bought. Her brother's faction grows stronger, though. By 49 BCE, they exile her to Syria. She flees with a small retinue, humiliated but not broken. Egypt is hers by right. She'll take it back. Enter Rome. Civil war rages between Julius Caesar and Pompey. Pompey, defeated, sails to Egypt seeking aid. Ptolemy XII's advisors behead him, thinking it'll please Caesar. Doesn't. Caesar arrives in Alexandria in 48 BCE, furious at the murder of a Roman consul. He's 52, balding, epileptic, but a god of war and ambition. Cleopatra, 21, sees her chance. Legend says she smuggles herself into his quarters, rolled in a carpet. Imagine the scene. Caesar, battle-worn, opens a rug, and out steps a queen, young, radiant, speaking his language, literally and figuratively. She offers herself not just as a lover, but as a partner. Egypt's wealth for Rome's swords, her bed for his protection. It's a gamble. If he refuses, she's dead. If he accepts, she's tied to Rome's fate. Caesar doesn't hesitate. Their affair begins that night. Is it love? Lust? Power? Probably all three. Cleopatra knows Rome's men are her path to survival. She's not seducing Caesar. She's seducing an empire. But here's the question nobody asked in 48 BCE. What happens when you give a queen, raised in a palace of intrigue and excess, the loyalty of Rome's greatest general? When you place her in a world where desire is a weapon, and she's trained to wield it. Egypt is about to find out. Rome is about to find out. And 2,000 years later, we're still unraveling the truth from the lies. The sources, Plutarch, Suetonius, Cassius Dio, call her a siren, a whore, a manipulator. Roman propaganda loved that narrative. The Eastern temptress who corrupts virtuous Romans. But Cleopatra wasn't just a seductress. She was a scholar, a diplomat, a mother. She played the game better than men who wrote the rules. If the story of a queen who turned desire into dominion doesn't grip you, you're missing the pulse of history. Because what comes next isn't just a scandal. It's how empires shift on the edge of a bed. Caesar and Cleopatra's alliance ignites Alexandria. Ptolemy Xi's court is livid. A Roman betting their queen threatens their control. The city erupts into the Alexandrian War, 48 to 47 BCE. Caesar, with a small force, holes up in the palace. Cleopatra's at his side, not as a trophy but a co-strategist. She knows Egypt's terrain, its people, its wealth. She advises, he listens. Together, they withstand sieges, naval battles, even a fire that burns part of the Great Library. Her brother's forces falter when Caesar's reinforcements arrive. Ptolemy XIII drowns in the Nile, fleeing. Cleopatra is sole ruler, married now to her younger brother, Ptolemy XIV, a puppet she controls. In the palace, their affair deepens. Cleopatra hosts banquets to rival Alexandria's wildest. Imagine the scene. Marble halls lit by bronze lamps, tables groaning with peacock, flamingo, and spiced antelope. Musicians play lyres, acrobats twist through the air. Cleopatra reclines beside Caesar, her laughter disarming senators and generals. Rumors swirl of orgies, nobles, slaves, and foreign dignitaries mingling in ways Rome's stoic elite would never admit. These aren't just parties. They're diplomacy. Every guest leaves owing her something: loyalty, silence, or shame. She's not just Caesar's lover. She's Egypt's brain. In 47 BCE, she gives birth to Caesarion, little Caesar. Is he Caesar's son? She says yes. Rome's gossips say maybe. Either way, he's a symbol, Egypt and Rome entwined. Cleopatra's not just securing her throne. She's building a dynasty. But Rome is a republic, and Caesar's enemies smell treason. A Roman dictator with an Egyptian queen and a half-Egyptian heir? Unthinkable. Yet Caesar invites her to Rome in 46 BCE. She arrives in his villa across the Tiber, a queen in exile, surrounded by Egyptian servants, golden statues, and whispers of scandal. Rome's elite are horrified. Cicero calls her arrogant, her entourage decadent. She hosts feasts in Caesar's villa, wine from Crete, dancers from Nubia, rumors of rituals where guests shed togas for something less restrained. Roman matrons clutch their pearls. Senators clutch their ambitions. Cleopatra doesn't care. She's playing a longer game. Caesar grants her a golden statue in the Forum, a near-divine honor. Is she his mistress or his equal? The line blurs. She pushes for Caesarian's recognition, for Egypt's independence under Rome's protection. But on the Ides of March 44 BCE, it ends. Caesar is stabbed 23 times in the Senate. Cleopatra flees to Egypt, her brother husband Ptolemy XIV conveniently dead. Poison, they whisper. She's alone again, but not for long. The question lingers. What did Cleopatra learn in Rome? She saw a republic fracturing, men drunk on power, loyalty bought with gold or fear. She learned Rome's strength was also its weakness. Its men could be swayed. Her next move will shake the world. Because when you give a queen like Cleopatra a taste of Rome's power, then rip it away, she doesn't retreat. She doubles down. Rome descends into chaos after Caesar's death. The second triumvirate, Mark Antony, Octavian, and Lepidus, carves up the empire. Antony, 39, is Rome's boldest general. Brash, handsome, a drinker, a lover, a soldier's soldier. He controls the East, including Egypt's grain supply. Cleopatra, now 27, knows he's her next ally. In 41 BCE, Antony summons her to Tarsus in modern-day Turkey. She doesn't arrive as a supplicant. She sails up the Cydnus River on a golden barge, dressed as Aphrodite, goddess of love. Purple sails catch the wind. Oars dip in rhythm to flutes. Perfume wafts ashore. Crowds gasp. Antony, waiting in the marketplace, is left looking like a fool as the city flocks to her. The meeting is theater, and Cleopatra is the director. She invites Antony to her barge for a banquet. Picture it. Silk cushions, ivory tables, dishes of ostrich and peacock tongues. Servants pour wine from golden amphorae. Cleopatra's with sparkles. She speaks his language, jokes like a soldier, flirts like a goddess. Antony's hooked. Their affair begins not in a bedroom, but in a display of power. She's not just seducing him. She's buying his legions with Egypt's wealth. He needs her grain. She needs his swords. It's a partnership sealed in desire. They spend the winter of 41 to 40 BCE in Alexandria. The palace becomes a stage for excess. Antony and Cleopatra form the inimitable Livers, a society dedicated to feasts, games, and rumored orgies. Nobles dress as gods, Antony as Dionysus, Cleopatra as Isis. They hunt, wrestle, drink until dawn. Sources whisper of nights where guests, high on wine and ambition, cross lines of rank and decency. Cleopatra stages these spectacles, not for pleasure alone, but to bind Antony's loyalty. Every indulgence ties him closer. She bears him twins in 40 BCE, Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selene. Rome grumbles. Antony's married to Octavian's sister, Octavia, an Egyptian queen with his children? Treasonous. Cleopatra's power grows. Antony grants her lands, Cyprus, Phoenicia, parts of Syria. Egypt's borders swell, a new Ptolemaic empire. But Octavian, cold and calculating, watches from Rome. He leaks stories. Antony's bewitched, neglecting duty, lost in Eastern debauchery. Cleopatra's no fool. She knows the propaganda game. She doubles down, hosting grander feasts, gifting Antony treasures, even dissolving a pearl in vinegar to drink it, proving her wealth is limitless. Every act screams defiance. Egypt will not bow. But here's the question. What happens when a queen uses desire as a weapon, not just to hold a man, but to hold an empire? When every banquet is a battlefield, every kiss a contract. Cleopatra's about to push too far, and Rome's about to push back. By 34 BCE, Cleopatra and Antony are a power couple, but not untouchable. Antony's campaigns in Parthia falter, costing men and prestige. Octavian seizes the chance, painting Antony as a traitor enslaved by an Egyptian sorceress. Cleopatra counters with spectacle. In Alexandria's gymnasium, she and Antony stage the donations of Alexandria. Before thousands, they sit on golden thrones, Cleopatra as Isis, Antony as Dionysus. Their children, Caesarion, the twins, and newborn Ptolemy Philadelphus, are named rulers of vast territories. Armenia, Media, Parthia, even parts of Rome's empire. Caesarion is declared Caesar's true heir, a direct challenge to Octavian. The crowd roars. Rome reels. Octavian calls it treason. Antony's not just sleeping with the enemy. He's giving her Rome's lands. Cleopatra's palace buzzes with excess to celebrate. Banquets spill into days, with rumors of rituals where nobles, drunk on lotus wine, perform for the queen's amusement. Slaves, senators, and soldiers blur in torchlit halls. These stories, true or exaggerated, reach Rome, where Octavian spins them into propaganda. Pamphlets call Cleopatra a whore, a witch, a threat to Roman virtue. Her sexuality becomes a weapon against her. Every rumor of an orgy or affair paints her as the corrupter of Rome's hero. Antony divorces Octavia in 32 BCE, marrying Cleopatra in a ceremony blending Greek and Egyptian rites. It's not just love, it's politics. Cleopatra's Egypt is now Rome's rival, not its vassal. Octavian declares war, not on Antony, but on Cleopatra. The Senate strips Antony of titles. Octavian reads Antony's will, possibly forged, claiming he wants to be buried in Alexandria, not Rome. The message: Antony's no Roman, he's Cleopatra's slave. The lovers prepare for war. Cleopatra funds ships, supplies, and mercenaries. Her wealth is staggering. Egypt's grain feeds Rome. Its gold buys armies. But Octavian's propaganda is relentless. Roman poets like Horace and Virgil churn out verses. Cleopatra's a fatal monster, her bed a trap. Soldiers whisper of her eastern orgies, where men lose their honor. Truth or lies? Likely both. Cleopatra's banquets were real, her power over Antony undeniable. But Rome's hatred of a woman wielding such influence twisted every story into myth. As war looms, Cleopatra's no victim. She commands fleets, negotiates with allies, and stands beside Antony at Actium in 31 BCE. The question isn't whether she's powerful. It's whether her power can survive Rome's wrath. Because when you make love a weapon, you risk becoming the target. September 2nd, 31 BCE. The Ionian Sea off Actium, Greece. Antony and Cleopatra's fleet faces Octavian's. She's 38, no longer the young queen who charmed Caesar, but a commander bankrolling 500 ships. Antony's legions are loyal, but his men distrust her. Why's an Egyptian queen leading Romans? Octavian's propaganda has done its work. His smaller fleet, led by Agrippa, is unified, disciplined. Cleopatra's ships, laden with treasure, are slower. The battle begins at dawn. Antony's line holds, but Cleopatra's ships break formation, fleeing south. Antony follows. His men, stunned, surrender or scatter. Octavian wins not by strength, but by breaking their will. Was it betrayal? Panic? Strategy? Sources like Plutarch say Cleopatra fled to save her treasure, dragging Antony with her. Others argue she saw defeat coming and chose survival. Either way, Actium is a disaster. Antony's reputation crumbles. Cleopatra's myth as a seductress who ruins men solidifies. They retreat to Alexandria, where denial becomes their policy. Banquets resume, grander than ever. Picture the palace. Marble floors slick with spilled wine, nobles dancing to flutes, Cleopatra and Antony laughing as if Actium never happened. Rumors swirl of final orgies. Desperate, decadent, a last gasp of defiance. They pledge to die together, forming the companions of death, a grim echo of their inimitable livers. Octavian advances. By 30 BCE, his forces reach Egypt. Antony's remaining allies defect. Cleopatra negotiates secretly, offering to abdicate if Caesarion can rule. Octavian refuses, Caesarion's a threat. Antony fights one last battle outside Alexandria, but his men desert. He returns to the palace, drunk, broken. Cleopatra locks herself in her mausoleum, stocked with treasure. She sends word she's dead. Antony, believing it, stabs himself, only to learn she's alive. He's carried to her, dying in her arms. Picture it. Blood pooling on marble, a queen cradling a general, their empire reduced to this room. Cleopatra's not done. She meets Octavian, now 33, cold as stone. She tries charm, offering wealth, loyalty. He's unmoved. Her beauty, faded by war and childbirth, can't sway him. He wants Egypt, not her. She's allowed to bury Antony, then taken to her palace under guard. On August 12, 30 BCE, she acts. Dressed as Isis, she dines one last time. Figs, wine, perhaps poison. Or an ASP, as legend claims, smuggled in a basket. Her maids, Iras and Charmian, die with her. Octavian finds her, 39, dead on a golden couch, a queen to the end. Caesarion is executed. Her other children spared, paraded in Rome's triumph. Egypt becomes a Roman province. The question remains, was Cleopatra's death surrender or defiance? She chose her end, robbing Octavian of a living trophy. But her legacy was already being rewritten. Octavian, now Augustus, erases Cleopatra. Her statues are toppled, her name struck from records. Egypt's wealth funds his empire. Her story becomes his propaganda. Poets like Propertius call her the whore queen. Her love for Antony a betrayal of Rome. Her banquets become orgies of depravity. Her intelligence reduced to seduction. Damnatio Memoriae, Rome's favorite tool, tries to bury her. But like Messalina, Cleopatra's story claws back. Why? Because the truth, however twisted, won't stay buried. Her children survive, raised in Rome. Cleopatra Selene marries Juba II of Mauritania, carrying her mother's name forward. But Caesarion, her hope for a dynasty, is gone. Alexandria's palace falls quiet, its halls empty of feasts. The pharos still burns, But Egypt's light dims under Roman rule. Yet Cleopatra's myth grows. Plutarch, writing a century later, can't resist her. His Life of Antony is half her story. Shakespeare, centuries later, makes her a tragic heroine. Modern films paint her as a seductress or a genius. Was she a monster or a mastermind? Both and neither. The sources, Roman, male-biased, call her a temptress who brought down 2 generals. But look closer. She ruled for 21 years, kept Egypt independent longer than any Ptolemy, fed Rome's armies, and bore 4 children while outwitting assassins and armies. Her seductions were diplomacy, her banquets strategy. Rome feared her not for her bed, but for her brain. A woman who spoke 9 languages, commanded fleets, and challenged Rome's destiny wasn't just a queen. She was a threat. Propaganda turned her into a caricature because Rome couldn't admit a woman almost won. Stand in Alexandria today where the palace lies underwater and you feel it. Not ghosts but weight. The weight of a woman who turned desire into power, who made Rome tremble, who died on her terms. Her name was meant to vanish. Instead, it's immortal. Why? Because empires fall when power and shame intertwine. Cleopatra's story isn't about sex or scandal. It's about a queen who played Rome's game and nearly won. Every banquet she hosted, every lover she took, every coin she spent was a move in a chess game with the world's greatest empire. She lost, but not before carving her name into history. Marcus Aurelius, a century later, wrote, "Look beneath the surface." Cleopatra's surface was beauty, desire, excess. Beneath was a mind sharper than any sword. Rome created her myth, then tried to erase it. But the truth endures. A queen who used every tool, her body, her wealth, her wit, to defy an empire. We're still telling her story because it's not just hers. It's the story of power, of what happens when a woman wields it, and what empires do to bury her. If this reminds you why history's lessons must live, subscribe to keep them alive. Because the moment we forget Cleopatra is the moment we repeat Rome's mistakes.